to another episode of Kid in a Sweet Shop. And this is a very, very exciting episode because it's the first time we've come abroad. We are at the Paris Convention Centre at the motor show called the Retromobile, where we're going to be teaming up with the amazing Simon Kidston again, because he's got a stand here, and that stand is celebrating a very, very special car's 30th anniversary. So let's go and find him. There he is.
Morning.
Wow, 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 wow. How are you? Oh, it's so lovely to see you again.
Fantastic. How's it going?
Really, really good.
Are you enjoying Paris?
I am indeed, and it's very exciting. First time that we've come away, and we've come here, and my eyes are, I'm trying to concentrate on you desperately, but so it's...
Concentrate on the cars, they're much more interesting.
Okay, so the 30th anniversary.
Of the McLaren F1.
Wow.
The greatest sports car, maybe even the greatest car ever built. And we thought, as it was launched in '92 in Monte Carlo, we had to do something this year to honor that anniversary. And so here we are. Retromobile is, in my experience, the best classic car show, if not in Europe, in the world. It's just got that Parisian charm that you don't get, dare I say, in Essen or some other places like that.
Yeah.
And so we decided to do it here. Great as a season opener. Obviously last year was cancelled because of COVID.
Yeah.
So it's good to be back.
It's lovely. It's just lovely seeing cars and people and enjoyment. I know. But I have to say, what a collection. Can you walk me around them? Yeah,
with great pleasure. We have put together here, and there's also the museum area that we call, which is to showcase some artifacts relating to the creation of the F1, or indeed the Le Mans winning trophy.
Okay.
And then, of course, 7 of the rarest
so you've got
F1s,
7.
the Magnificent 7. 7 of the rarest F1s in the world. And forgive me if I'm drinking coffee at the moment.
I know, I was like, be careful. Okay, so the XP3.
This is the oldest F1 in the world.
Is it really?
It's the oldest surviving prototype, XP for experimental.
Yeah.
And this was Gordon Murray's car, the designer of the F1.
His own personal one.
It was they made XP1 was the first prototype which was destroyed in Namibia when they were doing hot weather testing. The driver hit a rock, rolled the car, and despite the fact that he was only wearing shorts and a t-shirt, got out without any damage. But the same couldn't be said for the car. XP2 was crashed in crash testing in England.
Yeah.
XP3, this car, was another experimental car, which Gordon, at the end of the program, negotiated with Ron Dennis, the head of McLaren, to keep for himself. And he did until just a few years ago. And Gordon drove this car a lot. He was a familiar sight. The mileage is something like 40,000 miles.
So it's been driven.
And in a world where people agonize about delivery mileage, and we'll see a very low mileage one afterwards, this is an F1 that has a story to tell. Yeah. It's lived. It's been used. It's been driven fast. Gordon doesn't hang around. And he's our height as well, which is a blessing because he actually designed this car for tall people to fit in, and it's super comfortable.
Well, I'm just going to have to buy one then, aren't I?
Sadly, none of these are for sale.
Are they not?
No.
I mean,
but it's cool, isn't it?
It's beautiful. And so this was built in... This
is 93.
93.
Yeah, 93. Now let me show you the next one.
Okay.
This
baby.
is the GTR, which was the racing version of the F1. So when Gordon created that, he never thought that it was going to be a race car.
Yeah.
But customers said to him, we want to go racing in the various GT series with this car.
Yeah.
Will you build a race version? And I think Ron Dennis, the owner of McLaren, said to him, look, if you can get 3 clients to agree to buy them, we'll build it.
We'll build it.
And they did. This is the car, the GTR.
Yes.
It's actually remarkably similar to the road car. It still has that standard manual 6-speed gearbox.
Yeah.
The engine has to run some restrictors in order to comply with the race rules of the time. So it actually has slightly less power than the road car.
Does it
and the other thing that you notice is that, or at least you would if it wasn't locked, is that there's only one seat.
Yep.
You can convert these cars to road use, which has been done to this car.
You can.
Hence, it's got a license plate on it. But the right-hand side, the right-hand seat, is occupied by the electronics.
By all the, yeah, exactly, all your race
So,
bits.
and it's amazing to think you could drive down the high street with this car. And it's been used for that.
That would be a bit of a showstopper, wouldn't it?
It's
Going up and down the King's Road.
I've seen these cars on the F1 tour, and the drivers are always wearing shorts and t-shirt because they don't have air conditioning, and the windows don't move either. So it's a very fast greenhouse, but a super intense one.
And how did it do in the competitions?
It did not too badly because on the first time out, it won Le Mans outright.
Oh well, yes. And this was the.
This was a car that was raced by BMW by the BMW FINA team.
Yeah.
Steve Soper was one of the drivers. Had a good racing history, but
yeah,
didn't win Le Mans.
No, I mean I know of the F1, the history of the Le
facetious.
Mans. I was like, I do know that. I meant this particular car. Okay.
Had a good racing history, and then was one of the first cars converted to road use, and the registration is GTR 16R, which is the chassis number of the car.
Fantastic. That is lovely. Oh.
This is the F1 that was. Yeah, we've locked them all.
Have you locked them all?
This is the F1 that has the distinction of being sold for the cheapest price that an F1 road car was ever sold for.
The cheapest?
The cheapest.
So what year was it
Back
sold?
this car is a 94 car.
Yeah.
It's the only one in this exact colour scheme, jet black with this
beautiful
sort of cream interior and brown. It was built for a member of the Saudi royal family, delivered to Geneva, and the chassis number is 007.
Ah, of course.
And the guy never used it. And in 1998, his family office called up an auction house and said, "Can you sell this car for us?" And the auction house, of course, said yes. And I was the auctioneer.
You're joking.
And I remember an Italian car collector turning up and said to me, "So what's that car you've got there?" I said, "It's a McLaren F1. "Oh, how much is that?" And I said, "It's about £350,000. I said, "Ha, ha, ha, you must be joking, and nobody's ever going to pay that for one of those."
Thought it was too expensive.
And he thought it was way too expensive. And I have to say, we only had one bidder in the auction.
You had one bidder?
One bidder who'd driven all the way down from Yorkshire, a nightclub owner, a very nice guy.
Oh my God, this gets
who put
better.
his hand up and bought the car for £350,000. Took it back to England, registered it, used it for years and years and years. Really enjoyed it, and he also owned the car behind at the same time, by the way.
So he was a
pretty
real
successful nightclub.
McLaren kind of just enthusiast.
And anyway, he sold it, and then years and years later, I bought it.
You got it back off him?
I got it. I actually had an owner in between, and I bought it because I like black cars, and being a Bond fan, chassis 007.
When you were auctioneering it, were you kind of going, God, I wish I had 350 grand?
Yeah, but I didn't even have £35,000, let alone 350, so it was just a pipe dream. It took another 12 years to make that happen.
It's a beauty. I really love it.
That's a cool car. I've driven that car maybe 20,000 kilometers. I don't own it anymore. But I owned that car for a long time and had a lot of adventures with it.
How many years did you have it?
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah. It's a cool car. I always have very, very happy memories of that car.
I like the two-tone tan inside as well.
It's great. That car's been at 350 kilometers an hour.
Has it?
Yeah, bounces around.
Autobahn.
Yes, obviously, yeah, autobahn. Bounces around a lot.
Does it? Why?
Because it's a 1990s car with minimal aero.
Yeah.
The flip side to that is that you can drive it around town very easily. You can park it in underground car parks, which I have. You've got good luggage space.
Yep. It's practical for a supercar.
It doesn't shout. It doesn't make more noise than it has to. It's comfortable. Great driving position with more than 180-degree visibility.
Yeah.
AC works well. Perfect stereo because you're sitting in the middle.
Yes, exactly.
Am I going to say it's practical? Maybe not.
Slightly
but
more practical.
But is it usable? Exceptionally.
Yeah.
And to me, that really is one of the greatest cars ever built. It does everything you could ask for in a car. And its party trick, which is one of the things that I remembered from way back when the then salesman took me out as a young kid working at Coy's. You put it in gear, lift the clutch, no accelerator,
Yeah.
and you can just pull away at 1,000 revs. And you can then go into second, third, and fourth, still without even touching the accelerator. Show me a modern supercar that can do that. They're all automatic now anyway, but it's impressively
How
usable.
on earth?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a cool thing.
Oh.
Now the flip side to the black car is the white car.
This is beautiful.
This is one of two that was delivered in Marlboro white. You couldn't use that as a name anymore.
No.
But Marlboro, of course, were the sponsors of McLaren at the time.
Yes.
And it was delivered new to Japan, and it has, to this day, something like 1,500 kilometers.
That's it.
So that's a car that has been really used and
loved.
enjoyed.
Yeah.
This is a car that has been mothballed, and if you want an example of a McLaren F1 as they were delivered, then
that was it.
This
is it.
Yeah. I'm a believer in driving cars, as
No, I
you
know.
are
Me too. Yeah.
But at the same time, if you want to keep a car as, let's say, an historical document, as a reference work, I love the two, the jet black and the white. Black and the white.
It's just really lovely monochrome.
Could be in a whiskey advert.
I know. It is really, really beautiful.
But look how small they are. These cars have the same
really
footprint as a 911, and yet you can fit 3 people in.
Yeah.
Luggage as well.
Yeah.
In the front compartment, you've got your toolkit, and not that owners, I suspect, ever use those, but you've got your toolkit,
Change a tyre.
your CD changer, and as you know, Kenwood made the CD system for the car bespoke, so that only weighed about, I think, 1.5 kilos.
Yeah.
If you look at the wheels and tyres by modern standards are very, very tall and very skinny, but it means you've got great ride quality.
Yeah.
Like I said before, visibility is great, comfort inside is great. If you're on a long trip on your own, your elbows can rest on easily.
Well, I'm 6 foot. I'm 6'2" actually. You're 6'3" in a bit. I'm wearing an inch on my foot.
I left my heels at home this morning.
And we would all sit in there quite
comfortably. You have a go afterwards.
Okay.
But yes, basically, driver's seat super comfortable. Yeah. Passenger seat, I have heard it said from passengers they feel a little bit concerned not having a headrest, especially if you're going fast. But otherwise, no. As the driver, if you've got passengers, all you see of them is their ankles because they're sitting backwards compared to you.
Exactly.
You're in a sort of
Just
arrowhead formation.
Yeah.
No power steering, no ABS, no traction control, manual gearbox. So,
proper car.
Excuse my language, but if shit happens, it's your fault.
Yeah.
But
that's
the
a
flip
proper
side
car
to that is it's really, really rewarding.
Yeah.
Now, a Veyron accelerates faster, as do countless other cars now. But if you want to go fast, go with EasyJet. It's about how it does it rather than just what it does. And as an involving driver experience, the F1 is really hard to beat. And that engine, it's one of the great engines in history. Quiet at low revs, howling at high revs. It gets to the 7,500 red line just like that. And you see the light on the instrument binnacle flash. Got to change up quickly. Yeah. But it never fails to deliver.
Just run through the specs.
618 horsepower, I think, from memory. 6-speed gearbox, 2-wheel drive, obviously. Everything everything built to the absolute best standard. As you know, the engine bay lined with gold. That engine gets so hot that on my first trip in my car, the rear number plate melted. I had an English plate on it, one of those old, one of those plastic English plates.
Yes.
It literally melted.
Oh my God!
That engine bay develops a lot of heat.
So 0 to 60?
I'll give you the second-hand car dealer's spiel. 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds.
Lovely.
240-ish miles an hour.
Whoa.
Might be 241. Rear-wheel drive.
Yeah.
V12, 6.1 litre engine.
Yeah. BMW.
BMW, only made for this car, bespoke. And the best thing is the packaging. If you look at this.
Oh, look, so smooth.
Arrowhead formation seating.
Yeah.
Plenty of room for all three.
Yeah.
And
oh, look at that. Oh, that's your luggage.
You've got fitted luggage. You've got the same thing on the other side.
Oh, that is just fantastic.
It's great, isn't it? And then behind that panel, you've got fuses and so on.
Yeah.
But everything on these cars is built
that.
with attention to detail.
That is just
and lightweight.
brilliant.
And look, you've got the chassis number. See, the interior color is repeated there, and the chassis number is embossed.
I see
in the suede trim.
So this is chassis number 53.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. I mean, they're quite small bags. I would struggle to do a long weekend and
Well, you probably have a BMW following you with your luggage. But I can tell you, compared to a Veyron, that's a lot of luggage space. You get at least more than a toothbrush. And as I say, you've got the same thing on the other side.
It's
and plus,
gorgeous.
if you're not 3 people in the car, obviously you can use any spare seat for bags as well.
It's fantastic.
You could definitely do a week on the road with this.
You can do a week.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. What's on the other side? Exactly.
And you see that you've got the same thing on the other side. So this is where you check the oil. And look, McLaren give you the
like
little
a pair of socks.
Well, it's like a pair of socks, isn't it? I think it's
It's a glove.
Yeah.
So you don't get your hands dirty.
McLaren Cars Limited. That
That's
is
fantastic.
attention to detail.
So this is for
This is
changing the oil, not that you would change
Yeah,
the
or
oil,
doing your Michael
checking
Jackson impersonation because you only get one glove.
That is just brilliant.
Isn't that great?
So that's basically they've put
So
it
there's
in
your
there to change the oil.
there's your dipstick.
I love that.
And there's your glove.
Look at that.
But if you you can't quite tell, but that is
Oh, hang on, put that back. otherwise
super
I won't-
light. Everything's carbon fiber. The whole body is carbon fiber. The chassis as well, of course, is carbon fiber. And I think I'm right in saying it's the first car that had a full carbon fiber chassis, which back in the day used to take something like 3,000 hours to make. Now they can do modern McLaren chassis in maybe 3 hours or 10 hours, but
quicker.
nothing. But that was one of the reasons why the car was so expensive to build. It cost £650,000 new. So not only did the F1 completely eclipse anything else in terms of performance, but also in terms of cost. And that was actually one of the reasons why it tended to be bought by the right people, because nobody ever thought this car was going to be an investment. They thought it was an insane amount of money to spend on a car, and you had to really, really love cars to want to buy this back in the day, which meant that people like Jay Leno, Ralph Lauren bought 3, Nick Mason bought 1, Rowan Atkinson famously bought 1, which he definitely used.
Yes, he definitely
And
did.
it was bought by the right crowd, and I think that has made a difference also historically to the value of these cars. It had the right image.
Yes.
You were going to see it at a race meeting where the owner had gone to race his historic car.
Yeah, exactly.
You might see it on a movie set if it was Rowan Atkin's car,
Yes.
or upside down in a ditch.
Oh, do
But the people who bought these cars, sure they were wealthy, but they were enthusiasts. They were petrol heads.
They really were.
And I think that's
made
what counts
a big
it.
impact. Yeah, I agree.
People looked at the other owners and thought, that's a group that I don't mind being part of.
Exactly.
Let me show you one more. In fact, 2 more.
Now that is...
This has not been seen in public for, I think, 7 years. So,
7 years.
road car, short tail race car as it's known now, prototype, we'll come to that in a minute, long tail race car.
Long tail road car.
The long tail road car had to be built for McLaren to homologate the new long tail version of the race car, which was built as a reaction to Mercedes and Porsche, who had built these sort of rule bending race cars to try and beat McLaren. So they stretched the bodywork, much better aerodynamics and so on. McLaren knew that they had to do something to fight back. But in order to modify their existing car so much, they had to justify that they were going to make a production version of it, or a road version of it. So they built this. And this car is known as XP GT. XP for experimental, GT because it is notionally a grand touring car. And McLaren being McLaren, they didn't fudge it. They actually built the car. It works. They even made a sales catalogue for it. And then they made 2 production cars, both of which are still in collections. This is the prototype that the factory kept until 2017, as part of their heritage collection, although it was rarely shown.
Yeah.
It appeared at the Geneva show, I think, in 2015 as a way of launching the long-tail 675.
Yeah.
And explaining that that car was inspired by this. And as I say, in 2017, the factory finally parted with this car.
So
and it hasn't been seen since.
There's 3 in the
There's
world.
1 prototype and 2 production cars, which makes it the rarest version of McLaren F1, even rarer than an F1 LM, which was another road car.
I've got goosebumps. I've actually got goosebumps.
It's a cool bit of kit, isn't it?
Oh, but it's so beautiful. I mean, it, honestly. Oh.
And it's got its own quite distinctive interior with these horizontal panels and the ventilation holes. Slightly inspired by a 1970s, dare I say, Ferrari Daytona. But cool, right?
I'm actually a bit emotional. I really am. It is so unbelievably beautiful. And then to know that there's only, you know, this is the only
That's the rarest
prototype.
of the rare.
Oh, I just want to touch it. Oh, God, it's stunning. And what would the specs be on
This
this?
is similar mechanically,
Yeah.
but because of the aerodynamics, although it's never been tested, it probably has the fastest top speed of any F1, most likely. But it's never been tested. But otherwise, the chassis is the same.
Another episode of Kid in a Sweet Shop.
Might be a challenge. The chassis is a standard F1.
Yeah.
But obviously they made the modifications to it that were then going to appear in the long-tail race car.
Oh, it's just unbelievable.
Isn't it cool?
It's mind-blowing.
The color, I think, is fantastic. The color scheme, it emphasizes the fact that it's very much a road car.
Yeah.
Again, you could...
I mean, I'll never see it on the road, really, ever.
And the other 2 cars are tucked away in collections. I'm not sure exactly where. I think one of them might be in Japan and the other one...
In Japan?
Maybe Brunei, but I'm sure
really? So
the many F1 experts out there, the spotters, will know better than me.
This is it, basically. This
is the prototype. This car is known as XP GT.
And when do you think whoever the owner is would allow it out? It's in a private collection, and so we probably won't see it again for...
Maybe a while.
It really
and this,
is.
of course,
yes,
is the car that served to homologate. So it's the
for.
long-tail version of the race car. So still 1 central seat. You could put a seat there if you wanted to on the left-hand side. Electronics on the right-hand side.
This is not road legal, though.
This car, believe it or not, has a registration number. Yeah. It would make quite an impression going down the Autobahn.
I so want to drive this on the road.
So these you can now road register. The big difference with the short tail road car, apart from the obvious change in dimensions, which means you've got bigger overhangs, which obviously in city driving and things like speed bumps, it's a bit more complicated. But it's got a sequential gearbox, which means you can actually just bang the gears forwards or backwards to change up or down.
Love it.
Without even using the clutch.
Yeah, it's the best.
Just needs a little bit of forethought on the road, because you can't come to a roundabout and then go down 4 gears all at once. But obviously in terms of F1 racing cars, this is the lightest and the fastest. And this was a successful car right until, I think this particular chassis is maybe the last F1 even ever to race. Racing until about 2002 or 3, so when it was a 5 or 6 year old car.
Wow.
So that's the end of the F1 racing legend.
Amazing. Absolutely.
So that's the F1 GTR
amazing.
Longtail, also known as the 97. So
Yep.
I'm being a real geek.
Yep.
The star of the show, Jodie, which has not been seen in public for a very long time, even longer than the XP GT, is probably the most famous F1 in the world, along with the car that won Le Mans in '95, which is still with the factory. And this is the F1 that was built for George Harrison of the Beatles. What do you think?
I'm quite speechless. I mean, just with it's totally, I'm seeing an Omma here.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it all on the wheels, on the steering wheel. I mean, it's totally...
The sort of Hindu, and you know about these things probably better than I do. George was a Hindu, a practicing Hindu, and he was also a big petrol head.
I can tell.
You had to be, right?
Yeah.
And he had sports cars ever since the Beatles hit the big time in the early 60s, so he had Aston Martins and Ferraris and so forth. But through going to Grand Prix and befriending people like Jackie Stewart and then latterly Gordon Murray, he heard about the project of the F1 right from the very, very beginning. And he said to Gordon, I'd like one of those new cars. But I think he thought a long time about it. It wasn't a rash decision. Yeah. And once he'd made the decision to buy one of these, he wanted to be very involved in the build process and customize the car to his own tastes. And so George would visit frequently. He would meet the mechanics. He'd talk about all the different details of the car, the registration, and there are these OMs hidden all the way around the car. And there's also I think the correct term is the Ganesh, the Hindu multi-limbed elephant, in a little compartment behind the driver's seat, which lights up when you open it. But the Hindu symbol, the Om, is all over this car. And of course, the most obvious thing is the color.
It's a beautiful color. I mean, it really is.
It's the only F1 in that color.
It's absolutely stunning.
And this is a car that very, very seldom went out. George passed away, I think, about 20 years ago now. So here, and the family kept the car, but you can see the OMs on the wheel hubs, on the seat belt buckle.
Yeah, look, another one.
There, it's everywhere.
It's basically the most blessed car in the world.
I think the most blessed car is probably a good description.
I mean, it's everywhere. I love it. And I've actually got a tattoo of an Om, so I'm kind of getting quite a little moment going on.
I won't ask you to reveal it.
I know. So they've got this Om here, and if you open it up, there's a mini Ganesh, a glowing Ganesh. So George had it and just drove it.
George had it, drove it. I think took the fellow surviving Beatles out in it.
Yeah.
Occasionally, and just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Just drove it. But he was a big, big car guy. Had all kinds of things in very eclectic tastes. Not necessarily just expensive cars, also humble cars, but always fun cars.
And so if I was in that era to buy a McLaren, would they allow me to do all of these kind of little bits, or was it just
I don't think the average client couldn't to do that. Yeah. And the reason I say that is that there is no other F1 that is customized to this degree. And obviously, if you're one of the Beatles, not just in England, but your name carries quite a lot of weight. Yeah. And even McLaren cars, when you want something special, are likely to say yes. And I dare say that even back then, Ron Dennis of McLaren, and certainly Gordon Murray, who was a friend of George's, thought him buying one of these cars is good for the brand, it's good for the model, and he's a real enthusiast. Like I said before, nobody ever thought they were going to make money out of these cars. Yeah. It was just a flight of fantasy to build the best car in the world. George Harrison of the Beatles wants one. We'll build it for him, and we'll build it exactly
how he wants
as he wants it.
Can I get in?
Sure.
I can get in? Really? I'm going to make sure I've got nothing on my bum that I'm going to scratch the leather. Okay, here we go. The 6'2".
We know that the car is blessed, so it's protected. Just mind your head.
Okay, 6'2". Here we go. Oh, like nice little bucket seats. It's not bad, actually. It's not bad. I can't believe I'm in here.
I'll tell you what.
Can you imagine with George driving? I'd be like.
And here comes the sun playing on the CD player.
Here comes the sun.
Shall we? Do you want to see what it's like with the door closed?
Yeah, go on. What have we got?
Central driving position.
Yeah.
No power steering. Beautifully lit instruments. They've got green lighting at night. They're all hand etched. Lights, hazards, wiper, fantastic wiper, pantograph wiper, which in itself is a work of art, which is a slightly geeky statement.
No.
I think I'm right in saying that the screen heater is derived from a fighter jet. Oh, very powerful. fog lights. This is your active aero, where you can move the tiny little rear spoiler up in 2 different positions at speed if you want extra downforce. Reverse lockout, AC, temperature and controls, window control on each side. These are your electric mirrors. This is the starter button, like a fighter plane. Handbrake is
deploy the
handbrake handle. Exactly, the handbrake handle is covered in wood as a heat insulation, so it doesn't get hot. And then you've got your CD controls. You've got a 10 CD changer in the front, which you can control from here. No radio, and bass and treble, and then your left-hand window, and
there you go. You got the
your harness with the OM. But
Just
obviously, you're protected by the Hindu gods anyway, even if you were to have an accident. And all of the pedals, incidentally, hand drilled and set at the factory according to the driver's height and preference. And the 2 interior mirrors, because you can't see directly behind you because the engine's there, you see out through these windows on each side instead. And actually, you've got surprisingly good visibility.
And
door handles here to close the door as passenger or as the driver. But you do need long arms. Headroom is good, yeah. Headroom is good. And for the driver, it's fantastic.
It's exceptional.
Yeah.
So this is the chassis number?
No, that's the serial number for the seat.
Oh, that's just the seat.
Yeah.
Okay. What chassis number is this?
Chassis number 25. Legend has it that he wanted chassis 007, but it was already taken. And Gordon Murray said to him, I'll give you 25 because 2 and 5 add up to 7.
Is that simple?
Yeah.
I love it.
Gordon's a good salesman.
He's really good.
But he's also a bloody good engineer.
Yeah, he's not bad at that either. This is just, I mean, I'm just kind of like closing my eyes and just imagining kind of George in those days. Maybe
Paul
in the back. Amazing. What a special, special car.
It is a special car. You can, as you say, you can almost feel his spirit in here.
You do. It is, honestly, it's quite...
It feels special.
There's something quite spiritual about this. I promise you. It's quite calming. I love it.
Although I don't think he drove it very calmly.
No. But I mean, and people haven't seen this car for,
This car, I don't think, I stand to be corrected, but I don't think it's been seen in public since 95.
Since 95.
I could be wrong, but I think it was last shown at Goodwood in 95 in celebration of the win that year of the F1 at Le Mans.
The very, very
but
iconic
for
win.
sure, it has hardly ever been seen since.
So you've got the modem switch, modem output, battery charger, all with these OMs on. Then you've got the McLaren track record, going from 1964, going through all the Can-Ams into the F1, up to 1993. It's just beautiful, the purple and all the gold.
The colour changes so much under the lights, because in some lights it looks more blue, and yet in others it's very much like the floor here, that deep purple.
Yeah, no, because
but it's a cool colour, and of course unusual, but George wanted to have the black wheels to give this very sort of...
The alloys?
Stealth look. They're magnesium.
Magnesium?
Yeah, they're magnesium, so they're quite light.
I mean, it is just, it's...
But isn't it great in terms of its simplicity? There's nothing about the aesthetic of this car that shouts, well, apart from the fact that it's purple.
Yeah.
But you haven't got spoilers, you haven't got loud script down the side.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Doesn't make any more noise than it has to.
But it's a 240 mile an hour car, which is just like...
It lets the performance do the talking, and obviously the race record. And I think that's one of the reasons why the F1 is so revered by collectors. You don't make something collectible, you can't make something collectible intentionally. It's not by saying, oh, it's a limited edition, or sticking 3 letters on the back, that you're going to make something collectible. This car was not intended to be collectible. They wanted to make, I think, 350 of them.
Yeah.
But then the recession intervened, and they only found clients for 106, 107 cars. In fact, 100 cars plus the prototypes. And that was it, of which I think 64 were road cars. So it was unintentionally rare. But bought by the right people, and then of course the crowning glory, which gave it instant credibility, was going out and winning Le Mans on its first attempt. Not just in its class,
first, second,
but outright, beating all the prototypes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's ever going to be done again by any road car, by any production car.
It's a moment in history.
And that's, to me, why the F1, in its different guises, really is the modern day Ferrari 250 GTO. And I think, watch this space. I don't think cars should be considered purely as investments, because that's missing the most important dimension, which is driving them and their histories. But that said, I think these cars have a bright future, and I think the next generation will revere them at least as much as we do. Yeah.
And especially with, you know, with the history of something special, as special as this. Yeah. I mean, it just...
Well, this is pop culture as well. It's not just a car. You don't have to be a car fan to appreciate the significance of the Beatles and George Harrison, what he stood for and continues to stand for. And the nice, you know, cars are about human stories, as we've said before. And there's a great human story there, and I think, you know, you say that you're emotional in looking at it.
No, I really am, on all of them, and even the
Well, every car here has a story, and that's what I like about them. You know, you and I just had a nice walk around. I could blabber on for ages about car stories.
Though.
But every car here has a fascinating human story, and those human stories will last in time long after we're gone. And I hope that the grandchildren of people who are here today will be here again in, who knows, 50, 60, 70 years.
Maybe seeing that one again.
Maybe that'll be the next time that it goes out.
Yeah.
But admiring these cars and thinking, wow, they made some cool stuff in the olden days.
They really, really did. And just because I just kind of want to know, what would all of this little area cost if I had a blank checkbook?
Enough to give our insurers grey hairs.
Hundreds of millions?
A fair amount of money. I can tell you that getting the cars here has been a major undertaking.
Oh, I bet.
Both because of the value of the cars, but also because of Brexit. And moving cars in and out of the UK, and these cars obviously get looked after mostly by McLaren Special Operations in England.
In the UK, yeah.
Bringing them here for this show was an effort, which I have to say my colleagues deserve all of the credit for. But this was a birthday that deserved celebrating.
Absolutely.
And you'll notice that there aren't barriers on this stand. No, we wanted people to be able to come along and get close to these cars and look at them properly without being shooed away. I mean, we depend on the youth of tomorrow to love these cars as we do. And the collectors of tomorrow are the kids who today are taking pictures and looking through the window and thinking, wow, that's cool.
My little lad, I mean, when I show him this, he's just going to be like, Mom!
But you don't want those people to have their nose up to a showroom window and to be told, no, you can't come in.
Don't touch. That's lovely.
You know, we were all those kids once upon a time.
I know. I get told off by a lot of Kid in the Sweet Shop viewers to go, stop touching the car, because I'm like that. Oh, but it's such a, like, to actually touch them, where you've seen them kind of.
It took a lot to get them here, so you want to get up close and to feel them, to smell them. Which I know sounds crazy, but every car has its own smell. And every one of these cars, by the way, was driven in here yesterday. They weren't pushed.
Really?
They all came in under their own power. And that one, I think, won the engine sound challenge.
Did it? Well, happy birthday, McLaren F1. I mean, what a wonderful...
And here's to the next 30 years.
Absolutely. And so wonderful for you to showcase them and allow people to see them. This one for the first time in 25 years. This one in 7-8 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's wonderful.
No, it's great to see them all here together. I don't think there's been a display of such a varied display of McLaren F1s, even at the factory back in the day.
Oh, wow.
So this is the museum area where we have artifacts. Now, if I said that I knew what every single one was, I'd be lying. But the most important things are obviously George Harrison's guitar. Oh,
my goodness.
Now I'll be very, very careful in lifting this.
Oh my God, don't drop it!
Let's have a look.
Oh, look at that.
McLaren cars, painted it in the colour of the car, put the chassis number on the back, and it was made by Fender and McLaren specifically for George's F1. And
look at that, and the fiberglass.
F1 McLaren. Carbon fibre.
Carbon fibre, sorry.
Yeah.
The weave, look at that.
Isn't that beautiful?
And then with the arm.
And also the controls here that are similar to those of the hi-fi system in the car.
That is amazing.
It's beautiful.
Can I hold it?
Yeah, absolutely do.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
I mean, that is just very, very, very special indeed.
You can see that neither of us actually know how to play the guitar.
No, exactly.
The way that we're holding it.
Go
on, give us a tune.
I know, no way.
Now this guitar probably is gently weeping as we speak.
Yes. No, I'm holding it like a baby.
Ah, okay. Is
Yes,
that it?
it's happy. But look, with the arm and the amazing carbon fibre. Oh.
It's more feeding a baby than Rock Chick.
And look, it's got
But
the
isn't it
F1
cool?
there.
Yeah. All these little details. And the arm, the F1, the engraving there. But that was made specially for the car.
And it's used. I mean, he really used this.
Look, Jodie, this looks on the outside like your standard F1 luggage, but in fact, it's an amplifier for the guitar.
No!
So you turn up like the rock star that you are in your purple McLaren F1, get out, and you've even got the necessary equipment to play a gig as well.
And that was
If that's
in the luggage
If that's
space.
not cool, I don't know what is.
So this was for the luggage space?
Yeah. This is the exact
Stop
size
it.
and appearance of the suitcase of an F1, except that it's a custom amplifier.
Stop it.
That was built for the car, with the chassis number 025 and the purple trim to match the seat.
I can't believe it.
Isn't that cool?
I just can't. It's just utterly brilliant. Oh, and then you've got the...
and that one's for your... That's actually a suitcase because you need to have your stage outfit, obviously.
For your toothbrush. And is that... Look, that's the 95.
That's the 95 Le Mans winning trophy. McLaren have lent us that very kindly.
Oh, it's heavy.
Yeah.
I want
Probably
to
nailed down so that nobody can go walk about
I
with it.
wanted to do that.
But yeah, that's pretty special, obviously.
That is awesome.
First overall outright victory at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the most famous race in the world.
Absolutely.
Right? Now behind you, you've got the very 1990s looking watch that came with every F1 that had the chassis number engraved on the back.
So this came with it? Every time we bought?
Yeah, most of them have gone missing by now. But originally, every F1 had a numbered watch that came with it. This is the sales brochure. As you can see,
two-pager.
Yeah, as you can see, they weren't trying particularly hard, were they? And some of the other sales literature.
Oh my God, I love it.
And then here you've got things like, which we'll look at actually on the other side, it's easier to see. The model, this is the toolkit. This is the onboard toolkit that was made by Facom, and it's all titanium, so it's ultra lightweight. That rolls up and fits in the front next to the CD changer.
Wow.
You also got your set of Autoglim F1 cleaning equipment.
How many owners do you think actually
I was
clean
just
there?
about to speculate on that, and I'd say probably not a very large number. And there's also the vanity mirror, because the sun visor above the driver's windscreen doesn't have a mirror in there. Yeah. You got it in a little separate pouch that you could get out to check your makeup before getting out or playing your guitar.
Yeah.
That was the driving
God
ambitions.
knows what rock and rollers were doing in those
actually,
days.
yes. You're a step ahead of me on that. This is the Facom tool chest.
Oh, wow.
Now, let's see if I can get the code.
Is it fully got everything in it?
These are the tool chests that came with every F1. Every F1
It came with its own.
It came with its own tool chest.
Ooh.
Made by Facom, and the idea is that it's a complete chest. There we go. That allows.
Wow. Wow.
So you had all of the. Yeah,
misplaced.
I think they're probably.
They're out.
Let's say they're being used at the moment.
Isn't that amazing?
But this came with every F1.
I can't believe it.
And
so you got the free watch, you got the free toolkit.
Yeah, I think the definition of the word free is somewhat loose when you're paying £550,000 or £650,000 for the car. This is the pièce de résistance, the 1990s modem.
Oh, it's the modem. Look at the size of it.
We could almost make music with that. So we got about a millionth of the computing power of an iPhone.
Yes, exactly.
That back in the day allowed you to connect your McLaren up to the PC, to the sort of
So you could
very
go
primitive internet, and it would allow the technicians back in Woking to tell what was wrong with your car and if it needed anything.
Or if you've been speeding.
Or if you've been speeding.
Brilliant.
That presumably is for...
Yes, getting in tight places.
Dentists.
Isn't that brilliant? Oh, it's not in properly.
Famous last words.
Isn't that fantastic? 007. So this was your black one.
This was my, yeah, must be. I didn't actually know
I can
that.
see you used it a lot.
Yes, yes. Frequently.
So nowadays, if you were to buy an F1, you would be expected to.
Well, if you were to buy an F1 these days, you'd like to get all this.
Yeah.
A lot of the cars are missing accessories like this.
Yeah.
This, incidentally, is the wind tunnel model for the GTR.
Is it really?
That's the livery of the winning car.
Wow.
That is what an F1 engine looks like. See all the carbon fiber bits on it.
Wow.
Even the cam covers, carbon fiber. This is the final evolution. I think I'm right in saying this is a 97 GTR engine, which is the lightest of all. And the car itself weighed a lot more.
Pied de resistance.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it?
Oh.
As we've said, that is
gorgeous.
one of the great engines in automotive history.
Full stop. I agree.
And then here's some really cool stuff. These are some of Gordon's notes, Gordon Murray's notes in his original Filofax. Remember those?
Yes, I do. I love it. I want a Filofax.
Look at that. June 92, September 1990, all of his calculations.
Reflex more effective, the normal diffuser, no rear wing, air brakes good. I mean, reflexive is better. Top of rad exit duct should be. I can't read his
So he
writing.
says pop-up headlights very bad.
Yeah.
55 degrees CP shift, whatever that means. That might mean something to do with the balance of gravity.
Yeah.
Center of gravity.
How amazing!
But that.
Does he know you stole that from him?
See more of Gordon's drawings.
Oh wow.
That man has some seriously neat handwriting, doesn't he?
Yes, like really, really. And most
look how
men's
detailed.
handwriting is terrible.
I know, especially doctors.
Yeah.
But aren't these all beautiful?
Isn't it? It's really special.
And these are things that have never been on display before. These have never been seen by the public until now. So those are things that we're very proud of. And the whole idea, as we've said, is for enthusiasts to be able to come here and see things that they haven't seen before and
Oh my God.
might not see again. And to do so up close without barriers and
Exactly.
and so on.
I love it.
I'm glad you did.
It's amazing. Oh. Right, we're off. So, if you like what you see, make sure you hit our subscribe button below.